some of you are thinking, hey, that's not Brad. You're right, I have much less hair to contribute to the world than Brad does. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Neil Novak, and my wife Jody and I have been coming to DCC for about 3 years. And let me just start by saying that we love this church. We're a military family, and you know, sometimes it's difficult to be moving around a lot, and you know, you're far from family a lot of times, and to have a place that really feels like home and to connect with people here, we just really love this church. So thank you for being our church family. Really excited to be able to talk to you this morning about a topic that I think is really one of the hallmarks of the Christian faith, and a topic that I think really has the power to transform lives, maybe more than any topic out there. So some of you, maybe came in and are like, oh, Brad's not here. And then a big word like forgiveness is up on the screen. You're like, oh man, I don't want to forgive somebody. Forgiveness sounds hard. I don't want to do it. I don't want to hear talk about forgiveness. So, but I've been praying the last couple weeks as this kind of coming together, and just praying that God would soften hearts this morning and kind of hopefully take those walls down, and that He would do the work that only He can do. So, for those of you who do know me, you know that I like to tell stories. And I think I probably get that from my grandfather, who is like a prolific storyteller. He's 82 years old, and I think that I have heard his story about Tuffy the squirrel dog about 100 times over the course of my life. And I think at this point he's actually forgotten that he's told the story, so maybe not. He's a pretty sharp guy, but so like him, I like to tell stories. And so I'm going to start off this morning by telling you a couple different stories. And the first story is about a woman who grew up in kind of a working class family in Texas. And her childhood was, I guess, somewhat normal for growing up in the 50s and 60s. But that all kind of began to change when she was 14 years old. And that's when she began to be sexually abused by her own father. And unfortunately, this wasn't a one-time thing. This was a recurring deal where she would be abused sexually by her own dad. This woman ended up getting married at 18 years old, so I guess maybe thankfully she left that situation early. But thankfully she married a very loving husband, a very gentle husband. Basically she was able to trust her husband. A lot of people, I think, have issues being able to trust men in that type of environment. But by 1985, now with 2 children of her own, she suffered some pretty severe depression. And anger and bitterness were definitely at the root of that depression, as you might imagine. This depression was impacting the way she treated her children, and she didn't like that. It was impacting her marriage. And she got to the point where she was really at the end of herself, and she knew that. But I think she intellectually knew that she needed to forgive her father, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. And who could blame her, really, for suffering that kind of atrocity? The second story is a story about a guy I was in pilot training with. And as a boy, this guy dreamed of flying F-16s. And when he was 12 years old, his grandpa, who was an electrician on F-16s, worked for a company called General Dynamics, I think snuck him onto the flight line, basically, at Eglin Air Force Base, and let him sit in the cockpit of an F-16. And that was really all it took to kind of energize this guy's desire to fly. In addition, his uncle owned a Cessna, and so that sort of sealed the deal, I guess, as far as instilling in him the desire to fly. And so all you could think about growing up was flying, preferably F-16s, and also wanting to become an astronaut. So he studied really hard in high school because he knew he needed to get good grades to be able to pursue that dream. And graduated near the top of his class in high school and went on to get an Air Force ROTC scholarship and study mechanical engineering. And his senior year of ROTC, after finishing the long engineering curriculum, he learned that he had gotten a pilot's slot. He was going to get the chance to pursue his dream to go fly. So he arrived at pilot training, much like everyone in my class, kind of this mentality that I guess you have to have as an Air Force pilot, that you can do anything, take on the world. And so there he is at pilot training. At this point, I have to give you a few little details about how pilot training in the Air Force works. So I hope you can bear with the details here. So when you're flying, you have an instructor pilot, obviously.